Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Friday, July 5th, 2019. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday yesterday, a great work week. Let's go ahead and get into the news tonight. Our solar wind speed sitting at 411.8 kilometers per second with a density of 0.1. We do not have any sunspots once again. This is now 7 days in a row, 116 days without sunspots for 2019 so far. That's 62% of this year so far. And taking a look at our planetary alignment, very interesting. And when you take this into consideration with the 6.6 quake that we've had, and also now with this new information of space weather, so far, the KP indices have stayed pretty low, actually sat at the 1 mark for a little bit, but we have not seen the increase of solar wind speeds. It had been delayed, pushed back to July 6th as possible incoming solar wind, but as of right now, no geomagnetic activity at this current time. There is our blank sun, 0 sunspots, and I want to take a look here at the SDO as well. There's that coronal hole that we should have impact from that area as soon as later tonight or early tomorrow morning. But now we're looking at this next Earth-facing coronal hole, which is weak to the southern part of the equatorial region, and then a little bit stronger one in the northern part of the equatorial region. Now, it's possible that both of these could graze Earth's magnetic field at the same time. So with the KP indices being as low as they are right now and considering the conditions on the sun, I'd say it's safe to say that we should be definitely on the quake watch side of things. A 6.5 or to a 7.5 is possible as near as 24 to 72 hours, just based on what's happening right now with our space weather and really just with the planetary alignment as well. So we'll be on the watch for that. If anything does happen over the weekend, I'm sure Mari and I will break through and report on it. Let's get back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel here. TCI, by the way, dropped to 3.28, which is down from 3.37, which was on our last broadcast. And this little chart here shows us how much lower we were in the minimum back in 08 and 09. As you see, this is where we were for the bottom out. And it looks like right now we are trending down. So let's see how much further this will continue to drop. Will we tie the 2009 record, which was 2.09, I believe? Yep, 2.05. So steadily dropping as we continue through the summer months here in the Northern Hemisphere. And let's get right into it. So we had a 6.6 earthquake initially. There really isn't much update as far as any kind of damages or any kind of life-threatening injuries. We saw some minor damage. There were a few fires. A hotel had reported damage as well, extensive damage. And I can tell you right now, looking at the USGS right now as well, we are still experiencing small aftershocks. Kermadec Islands in New Zealand also had a 5.4 today, but for the most part, Alaska and Southern California have dominated as far as earthquakes are concerned for today. So still quite the uptick in seismic activity. In fact, I can go ahead and check the 1 day total so far, 355. That is down from yesterday. We were up quite a bit. The 7-day total for the USGS just 3 days ago was in the mid 400s. Today it sits at 1,006. So the West Coast has been rocking. Canada, Alaska, and now California. We have seen quite a bit of activity over the past several days, and like I said, we will continue to be on the lookout for any future seismic activity considering the conditions on our sun right now. All right, let's move along here. Record low temperature set in the Netherlands in July. The previous record for the lowest temperature was at 3.9 inches, which was, 1.5 degrees Celsius. 29.3 Fahrenheit, set in Giles on July 1st, 1984. This is only the 7th time since Dutch meteorologists started taking temperature measurements at a height of 3.9 inches in 1971 that there has been frost in the Netherlands in July. The last 2 times were on July 9th and 10th in 2015, and before that was on July 1st in 1984. Colder than usual temperatures in Northern Europe are signaling a welcome change after a severe heat wave affected much of the continent in the second half of June. While things still may change a bit, July is going to be noticeably colder than the last couple of weeks. Interesting that they are just coming out early July. It's only the 5th of July, but yet folks are predicting a much colder temperature situation over there in Europe. And as we look at this future cast here, looking beyond July 10th, a little bit of heat there around the 20th, but quickly ushered out with more cold air following up behind it. So a little bit of a roller coaster ride across the pond for us here for the month of July. And overall, it does look like we will see colder temperatures for July. So compared to that really severe heat wave they had and some of those false records that were not broken, now we are going to see some record-breaking low temperatures across this region. So something else to watch. Again, this is part of the grand solar minimum conditions of these sudden temperature swings, the sudden climate change, almost from winter to summer to winter. I'm not saying we're going to be looking at a blizzard here, but again, at the very beginning stages of a grand solar minimum, this is evident of GSM conditions that are going to be prevalent here in the future. All right, taking a look here. Strong puffs at the Sabancaya. How do you say that, Mari? It's been a long one for me today. The volcano.
Isn't it like Sabancaya?
Sabancaya. Yeah, that's much better. Sabancaya. All right, thank you, my lovely producer and
you caught me off guard with it, Jake. I'm trying to pay attention to the chat.
My life partner, my rock. All right, strong puffs are taking place at this volcano in Peru since 1410 UTC on July 2nd, 2019, with ash emissions rising up to 30,000 feet above sea level. There we go, another volcano at 30,000 or higher. Eruptions continue into July 3rd, with continuous emission detected in satellite imagery rising up to 30,000 feet, drifting mostly northeast at 800 UTC. So it reported an average of 12 explosions per day were recorded at this volcano from June 3rd to June 7th. Ash plume rose to 9.5 thousand feet above the crater rim. On June 7th, explosions generated ash plumes that drifted 18.6 miles south and southwest. The public was warned not to approach the crater within about 7.5 mile radius. And there is a radius, I should say. Geological information here at watchers.news. Again, we want to thank them for the work that they do, keeping us everyone update when it comes to worldwide extreme weather, earthquakes, volcanoes, just bizarre phenomena. This website covers it all. And speaking of that, also from the Watchers, Asteroid 2019 NK1 flew past Earth at 0.69 lunar distance. This flew past at the 0.69 lunar distance on July 2nd, 2019. This is the first known asteroid to fly by Earth within a 1 lunar distance since June 8th. A similar sized asteroid was discovered on June 28th and designated on the 2019 MO. The object entered Earth's atmosphere and exploded south of Puerto Rico at 21:25 UTC, 12 hours after it was discovered. I usually don't cover the asteroids and following it that closely, but I have to admit that we've seen an uptick in how close some of these are coming. some of the bigger sized ones within a lunar distance happening a little more frequently. And I guess my biggest guess with that, not being an expert here, I just report on this and just reading these articles and following this stuff, but having a weaker magnetic field probably plays a big part of shielding off these asteroids. And when it is weaker, it's possible, just in my opinion here, my observation, that the weaker this magnetic field will get, the closer these objects will get to Earth too. So there is so much more to the space weather aspect of this topic. Not just solar wind, cosmic rays, and then you have to deal with weaker magnetic field, which also we all know produces lower sunspots. When we see lower sunspots, we see cooler temperatures. And thinking about magnetic field possibly being a strong shield also for asteroids, now it being weaker and allowing objects to become a little closer to Earth than what we're usually used to. So lots to watch in this topic. And again, there's plenty to talk about. I was talking to Mari before we went on the air tonight about, I don't think this time last year we had this much to speak about when it came to the grand solar minimum. We had probably your typical floods and, talking about, some freak snow here and there maybe in the Sahara or whatever. But this year, honestly, if we had the extra time, it is almost justifiable to do a daily news update every night. And I really wish that we could do it at an earlier time, like a 6 p.m. time slot. Unfortunately, we are limited to the time that we have for this. And when we do get on the air, it's important to us because this stuff is not being talked about in mainstream news. No one's being made aware of what's happening. I think we're being distracted by certain things on Twitter and Facebook and media news outlets, certain political figures that are there to trigger people and distract us from continuing to raise awareness and be prepared. Right now, a lot of things are happening with our climate, with our space weather, with our volcanoes, with earthquakes. We're seeing more near-Earth objects approaching Earth now than we have in the past. And along with all of that, all of this chaos with the climate and the weather that we're having, we also get confirmation from several scientists, and also recently Valentina Zarkova's paper. Mari also read me another paper earlier today, or parts of it anyway, out of nature.com about another cooling paper. And it feels like that the trend, as far as public information, is starting to turn. And oh, by the way, Mari, if you wouldn't mind, when we go on our advertisement break, I would like you to set up that one page for me for NOAA.
Oh, okay.
That just reminded me there's something we need to talk about tonight, guys. And I don't know if I've ever brought this up. I feel like I have, but I'll reveal what I'm saying here in a little bit. All right, let's check out another record flooding event in Japan. 1.1 million ordered to evacuate. Only 6,300 took shelter. The rainfall recorded from Monday, July 1st to Wednesday, July 3rd was 21.4 inches in Nichian City in Miyazaki Prefecture. It broke the past all-time 3-day record of 18.01 inches set back on October 30th, 2017. So, also perfectly to note how I think that was the first year we saw probably the most radical increase of cosmic rays was during 2017, late that year. I just want to point that out. During the same period, Kanoya registered 25.26 inches of rain, breaking their 3-day record of 20.8 inches of rain, folks. And that was from 1993, by the way. Also in July. When you break a record that old by 5 inches, that's pretty much shattering beyond. It's obliterating the record. Even the record with 21.42 inches of rain, it shatters the 18.01 inches of rain. Now, we all know a heavy amount of rain could be as much as a half inch to 3/4 of an inch in an hour. I can't imagine receiving 22 inches of rain nearly, or in this case here in the Kanoya, it registered 25.26 inches of rain in 3 days. There's a future outlook here of what we're looking at moisture-wise. Although evacuation orders were issued for 1.1 million residents in the vicinity here, the Miyazaki Prefecture, on July 3rd and 4th, only 6,300 took shelter. The figure was 6,300, rather small. There could be cases which going outside is more dangerous, and depending on the situation in the neighborhood, central and local governments need to think about what they should do to make residents follow their instructions and keep them aware of the need to take action to ensure their safety. And according to the media reports, 2 people have died. Landslides, one in Tsu and the other in Kagoshima, both after landslides buried their homes. Folks, this is, so far, thankfully, 80 homes have only been damaged and 1,700 homes without power, and we've lost 2 lives. Thankfully, so far. But I have to stress, when your local government gives you instructions to evacuate, 2 lives lost is too many. So let's heed these warnings, folks. Whether or not it was 2 or 2,000 people, or 200 people, or 20 people, it doesn't matter. Not only are these warnings issued for a reason, but it's also for the safety of its first responders, the firefighters, the police officers, the EMTs. If they have to be called out in dangerous situations to rescue people who didn't follow the initial instructions, now it's putting more people in danger and unnecessarily. I'm not trying to scold folks who didn't heed the warnings, but let's not take stuff like this for granted, especially as how severe we have seen the weather become all over the world. I think it's about time we start paying attention when we start getting these warnings. We're starting to see the emergence through July 17th, as if they need any more. And those yellows, folks, that's getting up there over 2 feet. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Do you like this show? Give us a thumbs up. Want to support us more? Share to your favorite social media platform. Buy a t-shirt or become a Patreon. All links are in the description below.